So, is this a face of a man who doesn't want his cousin finding out his internet history, or seeing his private collection underneath his bed while she does the housework? Because that's what Kuro's face is looking like right here. Hello everyone and welcome to the Anime Zillia, and let's talk about episode 8 of SPECTRE. Now then, this episode overall was pretty decent. It was okay. Nothing major happened, but there was some good points to it. And there were a little bit of bad points, but we could talk about all of those right now. So then, the cousin has been revealed, and just from the first offset, we see Saki's reaction of being weary and shocked, and we tell this from her facial expressions and the thoughts that come afterwards. But if we think about how this ties in with the sudden reveal that she finds out that they're cousins, then the expressions then and the expressions that she has in that awkward elevator are very realistic. Because we learn in that awkward elevator scene again that Kuro is still in love with Rika. Big shock. And, he still is tied down. And he does for, a little bit wish that she wasn't around. And then he drops the cousin bomb. And this gives us a shocking look on Saki's face. Now, this is very easily linked to being realistic because, let's look at it. Saki is a very intelligent character. She's a detective, police officer. She has to be quite smart. So she's able to kind of put two and two together and get the information that she needs. So the fact that she was, thinking back on the memories, we know that because they're talking in the elevator, having those memories. And she goes in the flashback, sees a very frail looking woman who looks pretty nice, pretty elegant, I think is the word they used. Now, obviously, she's running through her mind in thoughts. She's like, oh, well, this must be like his lover or something. They must be very, very close. And, all this and all that. And then she finds out that they're cousins in present time, and she's like, oh, so she's eaten yokai flesh like he is, and that's why she's immortal, and she probably does have powers as well. They weren't lovers, they were cousins, so those thoughts that I had back in the past, oh my god, I might be a terrible person. Something like that. There is a realistic kind of thoughts and things that come across your mind when you find out big information, and then you kind of think about the past and how you would have viewed that in the present. Makes sense? Hopefully it does. Now, there's one thing that couple of things that this episode did do nicely as well, apart from the expressions. Because the expressions were good, we get shocked, sad, weary, and then we get this one, which is devilishly smug. Yes, this smug face is one of my favourite smug faces in anime that I've seen thus far. Maybe a little bit biased because I like Kotoko as a character, but definitely love the face. The comedy in this episode, again, was great, but this episode was more of a slow-paced and information-heavy episode, as we learn a lot more, especially about Rika and her connection with the Steel Lady Nanase. So then, as we learn more about Rika, we learn that she is discharged suddenly from the hospital, and she basically is now in a position where she lives in Kotoko's mansion with her and her parents. So, the reason as to why this happened was actually pretty funny. I'm not going to lie, it put a smile on my face, and I'll explain why. So, Kotoko's like, so this must be very important. Therefore, I'm going to ask you for something in return. If you give me the keys to your apartment, or a copy of them, then I'll accept whatever you have to ask. And he's just like, he just thinks of all of these scenarios in his head, and he just gets absolutely terrified and freaked out by the idea. And I love the one where she's feeding him, because as we know, he's immortal. So to me, with the dead look that he has in his eyes, and the fact he looks so lifeless, it just kind of gets my mind going, hold on a minute. Is her cooking that bad that he's died over and over again? and she's still trying to ram it down his throat. That, for me, put a smile on my face and made me laugh a little bit. I know it's gonna stick humor, but it's still pretty cool. So, yeah, that's a good bit of comedy that they used. And another good bit of comedy, which I really, really did like, is Kotoko's meltdown. Because obviously we had that whole kind of argument and confliction in that awkward elevator scene. Saki and Koro are kind of a little bit... The tension's very high. Especially before we go into this kind of final battle. And we see Kotoko just like going through in her mind all the possibilities and all like the things that might have happened. And she just can't kind of comprehend and she doesn't know what happened and what was said. So her mind's just going like 1,000 miles per hour. And she's just kind of getting all freaked out and all fuzzy, really. This was fun. This was great. Really enjoyed it. Anyway, more about Rika. So, her connection to the Steel Lady was the fact that she kind of created her, in a sense. Well, so they think. And the way that they kind of explained this was actually really nice. And it was explained in a way that made sense. As we learned that she took up painting after about a year ago, within like the time frame of the show, and she found inspiration online for the design of the Steel Lady Nanase, thanks to the pop idol that died from the steel beam. Thus, she painted the image and put it on the wiki page, thus allowing the public to kind of, see this and kind of raise public awareness of it and knowledge, thus giving the Steel Lady Nanase substance and a slight being as a ghostly apparition. Because, as we know, as we learned from last week, the more people believe in something, the stronger a apparition gets. So, how did they kind of link this together? How did they link Rika and the Steel Lady? Well, it's the fact that that painting was put on the wiki page, and they know that painting was done by Koro's cousin. Put two and two together, hey presto, you have your answer. So, this was actually pretty cool. I liked the way they did this. Rika obviously put stories down, she put out information, and she made a persona for this apparition, and the public ate it up and absolutely loved it, especially after this guy died in the previous episodes. It really caught fire. But one thing interests me a bit more than the rest. So we see the fact that the Steel Lady appears, but after Rika kind of kills herself. Now, two things could occur here. Is this a condition of her powers to see the future outcomes, much like Koro? Or is the fact that she has to kill herself for the Steel Lady to come out? Now, if this is to do with the first option, where she activates her ability to see, like, the predicted outcomes, then Kotoko's plan might not go as she thinks. Because she could see the fact that Kotoko is writing stuff down that would counteract what she wants, and then counter that. Because, as we know, we've heard some of the plan, and in any anime, any film, any movie, book, script, if we know the plan, it's never going to work. Or is how they want it to go, really. It's just a typical trope that they do in everything. And, the heroes need to kind of adapt and change their initial plan to basically get their desired outcome. And that's exactly what I can see happening right here. And I think that kind of little act of killing herself to see into the future, that's kind of them showing, like, this is going to be war. Now, the plan that we have is basically to upload fake information that Kotoko created to try and persuade the public and basically get them to believe in the fact that Nase doesn't actually exist and everything that was already posted on the wiki site was actually fabricated by somebody else. Now, I guess the way they would do this would be to explain how these incidents involving the Steel Lady were done by somebody else. So, for example, let's take the fact that that judo master policeman died in one hit. Now, everyone in the show is kind of blowing up online about the fact that that happened. They're saying, oh, it must have been the Steel Lady. She hit them on the head and that what happened. But if Kotoko can make people believe that it wasn't actually her that did it and kind of explain how it happened without any mention of the Steel Lady, then that would drastically put the votes in Kotoko's team's favour in kind of making people believe less in the Steel Lady Nanase, and thus, as we learned last week, making the Steel Lady apparition less powerful, because the more people that believe in the apparition, the stronger it becomes, basically. So that's basically what they're trying to do. It's a war of information. So we're going to have Kotoko uploading all the stuff, typing it all in, typing in every scenario, explaining things, trying to persuade people left, right, and centre. And we're going to have Rika basically counteracting that and saying, no, look at this. This is what you've done. Believe this. And it's going to be two people that are very, very smart. And we know for a fact that Kotoko can say things that are persuasive and believable based on a small bit of information that she has. Because we see it in episode 2. We see it in loads of episodes throughout this series so far. Kotoko is a very smart and accomplished person when it comes to, persuading people. Information is her forte. Now, one thing I did love as well is the kind of checkmate stance that they kind of explain in giving their reason as to why Rika wouldn't delete or remove the posts that would be tarnishing the fact that Nanase actually exists. Because if they do that, then it creates doubt in the public, saying that the administration doesn't like it and maybe she doesn't really exist. I thought that was cool. That's a great explanation, and it was actually really welcomed. So overall, this episode leaves a lot to get excited about as we move forward into episode 9 and above. As we start the battle between Koro and Nanase, so the battle between Ghost and Immortal, future predicting man. Yeah, great. And then we get the battle of persuading the majority voters on the wiki site, the public, to believe in Kotoko, thus sending Nanase back to the imagination, or in this case, void. Because I think imagination would be bad because they don't want them thinking of her. Anyway, I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Let me know your thoughts on this episode down in the comment section below. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe if you're new so you never miss a video from me. And until next time, I hope you'll have an amazing day and I'll catch you then. Bye.